You did not ask for a sign. Maybe you were not even looking for one. You were just standing at the window, or sitting on the porch, or walking past the feeder on a morning that felt heavier than most. And then there it was. A flash of red. A cardinal on the fence. On the bare branch outside the kitchen. On the railing near the chair where someone you loved used to sit. For a moment, everything in you became still. Not because you had proof, not because anyone could explain it for you, but because something about that little red bird felt different. It did not feel random. It felt timed. It felt personal. And if you have ever lost someone, a husband, a wife, a parent, a dear friend, you know how powerful a small moment can become when your heart is looking for comfort. Today, we are going beyond the branch, not to tell you what you must believe, but to understand why the cardinal has become the bird so many grieving hearts notice first. We are not here to prove what cannot be proven, and we are not here to take comfort away from anyone who has found it. Grief is tender ground, so we will walk carefully. We will look at why cardinals return to the same yards, why their red color catches the heart so quickly, why their songs feel so personal, and why for generations so many Americans have believed that when a cardinal appears, someone they love may be near. That is the science, and that is the soul. Both matter here. All across America, the cardinal has become more than a bird. You see it on sympathy cards, on memorial stones, on little wooden signs in garden shops, on pillows placed beside an empty chair. And again the same words appear. When a cardinal appears, an angel is near. Some people believe that with their whole heart. Some are not sure what they believe. They only know what they felt when the red bird came. And that matters. Because grief often looks for something it can hold on to. A song, a scent, a familiar place at the table, a flash of red outside the window. The cardinal became that kind of symbol because it is almost impossible to miss. In winter, when the trees are bare and the yard has gone gray, the male cardinal arrives like a living ember, bright, still, unhidden. For many families, that color feels like presence, like warmth returning for just a moment, like love stepping into the visible world in the only way nature knows how. Whether you call it faith, memory, or simply comfort, the cardinal has earned a place in the American heart. Not because it explains death, but because sometimes it softens the silence left behind. Part of the reason the cardinal feels so personal is because, unlike many birds, he does not simply pass through. He stays. Northern cardinals do not migrate away for the winter. They remain in the same general territory through every season. The same hedge, the same fence line, the same feeder, the same bare branch outside the window. So when a cardinal appears again and again, it may truly be the same bird, not a symbol floating through your imagination, a real, living creature that has learned your yard. He knows where the feeder is. He knows where the shrubs give cover. He knows which corners feel safe and which places are too open. To us, a backyard is familiar because we live there. To a cardinal, it becomes familiar because it helps him survive. And that is where the science becomes tender. Because a cardinal does not return to a place for no reason. He returns because something about that place has become part of his map. Food, shelter, safety, rhythm. Maybe even the quiet figure behind the window who keeps showing up with kindness. A cardinal does not pass through your life like a migrating warbler. He stays. Through summer heat, through winter snow, through the first birthday after the funeral, through the anniversary you thought you were ready for. And when he appears again on a morning when your heart is heavy, It is not hard to understand why people feel chosen by him. Not because science disappears, but because science sometimes makes the moment even more beautiful. The hardest part to explain is not always the bird. It is the timing. The morning after the funeral, the first holiday without them, the birthday you thought you could get through, the quiet afternoon when you finally opened the box of their things. And then the cardinal came. Not later, not on some ordinary day when your heart was busy, but then. Psychologists sometimes call this a continuing bond. It is the way love keeps looking for a bridge after death has taken away the ordinary ones. A voice is gone, a hand is gone, the chair is empty. But the love still needs somewhere to go. So when a red bird appears in that moment, the heart pays attention. Science may say that grief makes us more alert to symbols, and that is true. When we miss someone deeply, we notice what reminds us of them. A song on the radio, a smell in the hallway, a bird at the window. But noticing is not the same as inventing. The cardinal really was there. The moment really happened. And if it gave you comfort, that comfort was real too. Maybe the bird did not arrive with an answer. Maybe it arrived with something gentler. A pause, a breath, a small, bright place for your grief to rest. And then there is the way he looks at you. Anyone who has had a cardinal come close knows this feeling. He lands on the fence, he turns his head, and for a few seconds one dark eye seems to hold you completely. It can feel almost impossible to explain. But part of it is biology. Birds do not see the world the way we do. Many of them use one eye at a time to focus with great precision. So when a cardinal turns his head sideways and fixes that eye on you, he is not looking through you. He is looking at you. He may not know your sorrow. He may not understand the name of the person you lost, but he knows you are there. And sometimes, in grief, being seen is enough to make the heart open. The same is true of his song. A cardinal's song is not background music. It is territory. It is contact. It is life announcing itself from a bare branch. And unlike many songbirds, both male and female cardinals sing. So when that clear whistle comes through the morning air, especially on a day when the house feels too quiet, it can land somewhere deep. Science may call it communication, but the grieving heart may hear something softer. Not an answer, not proof, but presence. A small red bird singing into the silence, reminding you that the world has not gone completely still. There is another reason the cardinal touches people so deeply. Cardinals are not careless with connection. A male and female often form a strong pair bond. They may remain together through a season and sometimes across many seasons, sharing the same territory, answering each other with song, moving through the yard like two small flames that know where the other one is. During nesting season, the male often brings food to the female. He places a seed gently into her beak. Biology calls this courtship feeding. But anyone who has ever watched it understands why the heart reaches for a softer word. It looks tender. It looks like care. It looks almost like a kiss. For someone who loved one person for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, this is not just an interesting bird behavior. It can feel personal. Because grief after a long love has its own kind of silence. The other side of the bed. The second coffee cup no longer used. The chair that still seems to belong to someone. And then a pair of cardinals appears. Or one cardinal comes alone. And suddenly the heart remembers that love is not measured only by presence. Sometimes it is measured by loyalty. by returning, by staying near, by singing into the same yard even after the world has changed. So what is the cardinal saying? Maybe the answer is not a sentence. Maybe it is not something that can be translated into words. Maybe the message is simpler than that. Pause. Look. Remember. Let comfort come when comfort comes. A cardinal may not carry a note from heaven in his beak, but he can still arrive like a message. He can still appear at the window on the morning when you needed one bright thing. He can still make the room feel less empty for a moment, and maybe that is enough. Because grief does not always need an explanation. Sometimes it needs a place to rest, a branch, a song, a flash of red against the gray. Science can explain the bird. It can explain why he returns to your yard, why he remembers food, why he sings, why he stays through winter. But science cannot always explain the moment. The way your breath catches, the way a memory rises, the way a small wild creature can make you feel just for a second that love has not gone as far away as you feared. If a cardinal has brought you comfort, one gentle way to answer is to make your yard safer for him. Cardinals like platform feeders, or feeders with enough room for their larger bodies to perch. They are especially drawn to black oil sunflower seeds and safflower seeds. They also need cover, a dense shrub, a quiet hedge, a small evergreen where they can disappear when a hawk passes over. Fresh water matters too, especially in winter when natural sources may freeze. But perhaps the most important thing is rhythm. The same feeder, the same calm morning routine, the same yard that does not rush at them or frighten them away. Trust for a bird is built slowly, and sometimes so is healing. Before you go, I want to ask you something. Has a cardinal ever appeared after you lost someone? Maybe it came to your window, maybe it landed near the feeder, maybe it appeared at a cemetery on a fence post, or in the quiet of an ordinary morning that suddenly did not feel ordinary anymore. What was happening in your life when it came? And who did it make you think of? Tell me your story in the comments. Not just the bird, the moment. Because these stories matter. And if this video brought someone to mind, a parent, a husband, a wife, a dear friend, share it with someone who might need a little comfort today. Sometimes the right story reaches a person at exactly the right time. And if you want to keep listening to the quiet signs, hidden science, and small visitors in your own backyard, subscribe to Beyond the Branch before you leave. Here, your backyard is not just a place. It is a conversation. And sometimes, the smallest visitor carries the deepest comfort.